Hello students, today we're going to talk about the Parkinson disease. It's a neurological problem which affects the person's postures, memory, cognitive and behavioral disorders. So moving to the progress, Parkinson's disease or PD, it is an idiopathic Parkinson's disease, has highly characteristic neurological pathologic findings and presentations, including the motor deficits and, in some cases, mental disorientation. So, we can say a Parkinson's disease or a neurological problem, progressive neurological problem, and causing increasing disability of the movement. So, it appears in the later in the life, and there is no cure. You can make the changes in their life by giving a cognitive behavioral therapies or provide giving a supportive measures. So what is pathophysiology behind the Parkinson's disease? So first of all, we have to clear it about how this Parkinson's occur. So when there is a loss of dopaminergic cells located in the basal ganglia, most symptoms do not appear until the striata dopamine level decline by at least 70 to 80%. So we can say there is an imbalance primary between the excitatory neurotransmitter, that is your acetylcholine, and inhibitory neurotransmitter, that is your dopamine, in the basal ganglia. So there will be an imbalance in these inhibitory and excitatory neurotransmitter and causes the Parkinson's disease. Is heavily linked to the loss of dopamine neurons in the nigrostriatal pathway in the brain. So basically, it has been seen that in Parkinson's disease, it's a progressive neurological disorders occur on the dopamine neurons, which is present in the nigrostriatal pathway in the brain. So this is a healthy condition when the terminal branch sends the dopamine in an accurate way and passes the signals to the new neuron with the help of the neurotransmitter, with the help of the receptors. But in the Parkinson's, some amount only is passing into the signal receptors. That is, the level of the dopamine is decreasing. So the dopaminergic neurons in the basal ganglia are mainly affected in the Parkinson's disease, and the acetylcholine within the striatum is tonically activated the neuron. It impinges on the GABA neuron by an excitatory actions. The GABA neuron has an inhibitory action on the substantia nigra, and from the substantia nigra, it has a dopaminergic feedback loop back to the stratum, which gets lost, giving the sign and symptoms of the Parkinson's disease. So basically, these are the clinical findings to rule out the Parkinson's disease. First is your cardinal features. The patient should be in a condition of bradykinesia, postural inability, resting tremor, which have the postural and action components, or the patient has a rigidity. Next is the motor symptoms, in which the patient suffer with a decreased dexterity, dysarthria, dysphagia, fascinating gait, flex posture. It is a freezing at initiation of the movement during the movement, hypomania, hypophonia, microphagia, and slow turning. Next symptom is autonomic symptoms, in which the bladder and the anal sphincter disturbed, and it causes the constipation and diaphoresis. Orthostatic blood pressure changes and proximal flushing also occurs, and it also causes sexual disturbances. The next clinical finding is the mental status changes. In this, the person got bradyphenia, confusional state, dementia, psychosis, in which a patient basically causes a paranoia and hallucination, and also got sleep disturbances. Other clinical findings are the fatiguability oily skin, pedal edema, seborrhea, weight loss. These are the lesser serious clinical findings of the Parkinson's disease. Some common classic symptoms of the Parkinson is the bradykinesia. Bradykinesia is means slow in the initiation and execution of your voluntary actions like movement of your hands, legs, or bending of your back. Next is it will affect on the rigidity like your muscle tone. It will increase and the resistance to the movement of your arm and the leg got stiff. It also increases. Next classical symptom is tremor. Usually tremor at rest when you are in a sitting position. When the person sits on a chair or on any of the support, arms shakes and the tremor stop when the person attempts to grab something. Next symptoms is the postural instability. It is an abnormal fixation of the posture where the person is stooped when standing, and it also affects the equilibrium of the patient and writing flexes. Next symptoms is the giant's disturbance, that is a shuffling feet. Usually, other accompanied autonomic defects seen later in the disease process of the Parkinson's are the orthostatic hypertension, dementia, dystonia, ophthalmoplegia, affective disorders. So, to rule out the diagnosis, there are specific criteria. At least two of the following should be present in the patient. First is your limbic muscle rigidity, resting tremor at 3 to 6 Hz and abolished by the movement, bradykinesia, or postural inability. A number of other conditions can also be excluded. With the medication-induced Parkinsonism must be ruled out, like antipsychotics, antiemetics, or metoclopramide. Other diagnostic criteria include lack of other neurological impairment and responsiveness to the levodopa. Treatment for the Parkinson's disease. The drug therapy against the Parkinson's, the main aim of the disease is at bringing the basal ganglia back to the balance of the inhibitory and excitatory neurotransmitter. So decrease the cholinergic activity with the basal ganglia, and this can be done in two ways: by activating the dopamine receptors in substantia nigra and feeding back to the cholinergic cells in the stratum, and turn off the cholinergic cells, then the things are brought back to the balance. And second is to antagonize the acetylcholine receptors because it is in a increasing state. The agent which increase the dopamine's functions by increasing the synthesis of dopamine by levodopa or by inhibiting the catabolism of dopamine with the help of seligene, that is a MAO inhibitor, by stimulating the release of dopamine by giving a amphetamine, which is a first line drug, and by stimulating the dopamine receptor sites directly with the help of bromocriptine and pramipexole, or by blocking the uptake and enhancing the release of dopamine by amantadine. Amantadine is stated as a hallucinogenous drugs. So, what are this is a general algorithm for treating the early idiopathic Parkinson's disease, which we don't know the etiological cause, how it has been occurred. If you find the person with the early Parkinson's disease, give the medication to early Parkinson's disease. If you are not giving the medications, give the group support and give the exercise and education about the Parkinson's and the nutrition. If you are giving the medication, first of all find out the age group. If the age is less than 60 year, cognition intact has to be done and considered with the seligene, and see the functionally disabled. If the patient is functionally disabled, give the carbidopa or levodopa. Also give the dopamine agonist. If the If the tremor persists, give the amantadine and anticholinergics. And if the cognition intact is not there, give the functionally disabled, uh, use the carbidopa and levodopa. If the age is less than 50, not less than 60 years, above the 60 year, give the same, give the salicylic. And if the functional disabled is there, give the carbidopa, amantadine and dopamine agonist. General algorithm for the treatment of early for the advanced idiopathic Parkinson's disease. If the disease is progressed and in an advanced phase, comprehensive physical, occupational, and speech therapy is should be given to the patient. And if you are giving, if the patient is on dopamine agonist, increase the dose, add carbidopa and levodopa. Also increase the dose and the frequency. Change to the carbidopa, levodopa CR, or add salicylic, or you can add COMT inhibitors, or an amantadine, and consider for the surgery. If the patient is on the carbidopa and levodopa, increase the dose and frequency. If there is no sudden changes, change the carbidopa and levodopa with the CR, add the salicylic, COMT inhibitors, dopamine antagonists, amantadine, and consider for the surgery if the patient is not recovering. Next, individual drugs that given to the Parkinson's disease. First is your anticholinergic medications. They are effective for the tremor and dystonic features. Rarely show the substantial benefit for bradykinesia or other, and it can be used as monotherapy or in conjunctions with other anti-Parkinson's drugs. It shows some of the side effects like dry mouth, blurred vision, constipation, urinary retention. Some serious reactions are forgetfulness, sedation, depressions, and anxiety. These side effects should be monitored very carefully while giving the anticholinergic medications to the Parkinson's disease. Next drug is amantadine. It is effective for mild symptoms, especially on the tremor. It also decreases the dyskinesia at relatively high dose, should be given 400 mg per day. Adverse effect of amantadine includes sedation, vivid dreams, dry mouth, depression, hallucination, anxiety, dizziness, psychosis, and confusion. Livedo reticularis, diffuse mottling of the skin, is common, but it is a reversible side effect. It can be come into the normal state after monitoring these side effects by giving a substitute drugs. Next is your carbidopa and levodopa. These are the first line drugs and actively act on the central nervous system because it crosses the blood-brain barrier in the central nervous system and elsewhere. Levodopa is converted by the L-amino acid decarboxylase to the dopamine, and in the periphery, the L-amino acid decarboxylase can be blocked by administering the carbidopa, which does not cross the blood-brain barrier. So therefore, increase the central nervous system penetration of exogenously administered levodopa and decrease the side effects like nausea, vomiting, cardiac arrhythmias, postural hypotension, and the vividity. From the peripheral levodopa metabolism to the dopamine. Starting the for the dosing, start the levodopa at 200 to 300 mg per day in combination with carbidopa, often achieves adequate relief of disability. The usual maximum dose of the levodopa is 800 mg per day. About 75% of the carbidopa is required to prevent the peripheral adverse effect, but some patients may benefit from such as much as 150 mg per day. So if you are giving a combination of carbidopa and levodopa, is most widely used in 25 mg per or 100 mg per day tablet, but 25 mg or 250 mg and 10 or 100 mg dosage forms are also available. Next drug is monoamine oxidase B inhibitors, that is your MAO-B inhibitors. Selegiline is the first line drug. It blocks the dopamine breakdown and modestly extend the duration of action of levodopa up to 1 hour. It often permits the reduction of levodopa dose by such as much as one half, and the adverse effect of MAO-B is minimum. It includes only insomnia and jitteriness. It can be minimized by monitoring these symptoms. Rasalgilline is the another MAO-B inhibitors, has similar effect as selegiline. It enhances the levodopa effect and moderates the beneficial effects of monotherapy. Next is your COMT inhibitors. The most commonly used drug is tolcapone and entacapone are used in the conjugation with the carbidopa and levodopa to prevent the peripheral conversion of levodopa to the metabolite. And these COMT inhibitor is more effective, and it controls the release of carbidopa and levodopa in providing a consistent existence of effect and avoids the delay in time to maximum effect seen with the controlled release of levodopa products. Starting and recommended dose of the talcapone is 100 mg thrice a day daily, and its use is limited by the potential for the serious liver dysfunctions. Several deaths has been reported due to the use of the talcapone because entacapone has a shorter half-life, which is of if it is given 200 mg is given with each dose of carbidopa and levodopa up to 8 times a day. Dopaminergic adverse effect may also occur and are managed easily by reducing the carbidopa and levodopa dose. Brownish orange urine discoloration may occur by using the tolcapone, but there is no evidence of hepatotoxicity with the entacapone. Next drug is a dopamine agonist. Dopamine agonist is a ergot alkaloids derivatives. Examples is pergolide and bromocriptine, and the non-ergots pramipexole and ropinirole. These are beneficial agents in the patients with the deteriorating response to levodopa. So, those experiencing the fluctuations in response to levodopa and those with limited clinical response to levodopa due to inability to tolerate higher doses. There is no rationale at present to choose one dopamine agonist over another on the basis of receptor specificity. So the apomorphine is a dopamine agonist, and carbogoline is a selective T2 ergot agonist with a half-life of 70 hours. Side effects of these dopamine agonists are nausea, which is most common with all the Parkinson's disease, and it also causes sedation, lightheadedness, and vivid dream. Asymptomatic postural hypotension is common, and central nervous system is also affected, like confusion, hallucination, and disillusion. Sedation occurs are often dose limiting. Pedal edema can also be occur while using the dopamine agonist. The ERCOT dopamine agonists are associated really with the pleuropulmonary fibrosis, and recently cases of cardiac valvulopathy have been reported with pergolide. Thank you for this video.